And it's not that I'm grumpy or yelling or doing something. It's that I have resting ass face.
Hello everyone and welcome. It is time for another Sister Wives video. We're talking about season 19, episode 7. It is titled Labor of Love. This episode starts out with Kody sharing to the viewers during a confessional that Meri is moving to Parowan. So she is going to be moving away from Flagstaff. She's also going to be giving her furniture to her sister Rebecca and her brother-in-law Nathan. Now, Nathan is someone we have seen on the show before. He is friends with Kody. So Kody doesn't mind going over there. He says that he had told Meri to call him whenever she needed help. So he's following through with what he said. You know, Meri needs help moving this stuff. He is going to be there to help her. Cody makes the point of saying he also helped Christine. They do a bit of a flashback, and we are reminded of the fact that Kody went over there and Christine and Kody just didn't see eye to eye on how things should be loaded up. So there was a little bit of conflict, but he's reminding us he did show up to help her. And if you're wondering about this furniture, you're right. This is the furniture she bought when they first moved to Vegas. If you think back to those seasons, the houses and the decor, that stuff was brought up a lot. I absolutely can recall Meri's furniture without even seeing it on the show. I remember what it looks like. She is getting rid of that. She says she doesn't want to keep that. You know, it's not sentimental to her. It doesn't bring up good memories. It just reminds her of a failed marriage. At this point in the show, what we're seeing is Rebecca and Nathan over at Meri's house without Kody there. And then it's going back and forth from that to confessionals with Meri and Kody. And we actually get a little confessional from Robin where she says that her heart goes out to Meri because of how long she held on to the relationship with Kody, but she hopes that Meri finds happiness. So I'm thinking Robin has realized that she was asking a lot of Meri when she was asking her to hang on to the relationship with Kody. I think she's starting to see it wasn't in Meri's best interest. When Meri is talking to Nathan and Rebecca, they talk about the church process. She says that it went well for her, but Kody wouldn't agree. We know that's because Kody doesn't like the word abandoned, and the church said that Kody abandoned the marriage. So that is the issue there. But Meri also reflects on her first divorce. You know, this is the second divorce, the spiritual divorce. Meri actually went through a legal divorce way back many seasons ago. Meri says it was scary when she divorced him legally because their marriage was in a bad spot. So she didn't know how it was going to turn out. And she brings up Janelle. Janelle was also very worried. Christine didn't seem to have the same fears. But Janelle was worried about what would change in their family, and Kody had to go and talk to her about it. This is what Meri has to say in this episode.
You know, I remember he had a conversation with Janelle, and she was concerned about things changing. And they did.
If you go back and watch those episodes where she is deciding to go through with the divorce, they make it seem like it was Meri deciding to make this sacrifice. And I think Meri probably believes that it was, right? But I still think Kody and Robin had to be bringing it up and sort of nudging her in that direction. And maybe more Kody than Robin. Maybe Robin didn't do it at all. I don't know. But I just feel like something had to be going on behind the scenes that we didn't see in the show. But that's just my feelings. You guys can let me know what you thought about that down in the comments. When Meri is talking to Nathan and Rebecca, she says that the other day she had a phone call with Kody where they got into a disagreement. And all I can think is, I hope he doesn't start calling her now that she is no longer with him. I think Kody is one of those people that might be like that. When they're no longer with the person, then all of a sudden they want them. Kody even said, I like you now. In the last episode, I like you now. No, Kody. Too late. Meri is moving on. I hope she does not answer his phone calls very often. And I hope she doesn't have to see him very often. Meri says that they got into a disagreement about when things in the relationship really started to end, and they don't seem to recall things the same way. Kody now says that there were never any good times. He can't remember ever really being in love with her, and she says that just isn't true. There's videos, there's pictures, there's proof that at one time they were happy and that they were in love. During the phone call, Kody got really worked up over the disagreement, and Meri told Nathan and Rebecca that she decided to end the phone call. She was not going to talk to him when he was like that. Rebecca says that she has noticed a change in Kody. He's no longer the happy person that he used to be. And that is something I've talked about here in my videos. I've read in the comments from you guys. Kody just isn't the same man that he was during those earlier seasons. He's definitely a lot angrier, and he seems really unhappy. So they see it as well. Kody comments on this in a confessional. He says that he is angry and he basically has RBF, which is resting B face, but he actually says a-hole. So that is his perspective on it. And Janelle and Robin actually agree. Janelle says he would have a very intense face when he was talking about something serious. And then Robin says this.
Woo! I call it his murder face. I hate it. Like, you can't use the murder face on the kids. She's like, get in your pajamas. I'm like, that's too scary. Take it back a notch.
They're not telling us anything we don't already know. I think we've seen Kody make some really angry faces, specifically back during the COVID seasons and when Christine first told him that she was leaving. I think we got to see his face red and angry frequently during, I think that would be season 16 and 17. So yeah, we know about this. Meri talks a little bit about how getting rid of the furniture is really helping her move on. And I just think it shows how ready she is for this. She's not crying. She's not emotional. She is smiling and laughing. And even when Kody arrives, there's no negativity there. I just think Meri is ready to go. And I think when she is finally fully out of this house, it's going to be so good for her. There will be no reason for her to be linked back to Flagstaff. She won't have to maintain a house there, and she can just let all of that go. After this, the show takes a turn and we go over to Christine and David. They are visiting a wedding venue. He has his son Max there. There's also Isabel and Truly. You guys, they are visiting this venue and they're not even engaged yet. At this point, it is the end of January, and Christine and David had started dating at the beginning of December. There ends up being a clip of Isabel, and she says she feels like it's moving very quickly, but, you know, his kids are great. She's talking about David's kids, and David is great with Truly. If I didn't know Christine's history with Kody, I would think it was very shocking that someone was actually going to try to get a wedding venue and pick out a date before an engagement. But I'm sure if you're listening to my video and you're watching the show, then you know the history of Christine and her wedding to Kody. She's going to want a big wedding, so it doesn't surprise me in this situation that she is jumping ahead. Christine admits that she is going quickly into this relationship. She says they are not going to be taking it slow and that she is 50 years old. And that is something that was brought up a lot in the comments. I shouldn't say a lot, but there were a few comments about it after my last video. Several of you said age matters. You're not going to move slow when you're 50. So age comes into play in this. There's a part of it where David talks about Moab and the dinosaurs. I just thought it was funny that they put it in the show. David is so different from Kody and so different from Tony that it seems refreshing to have another male on the show that is different from them, because I feel like most of the males, I mean, it's mostly Kody and Tony at this point. They show some other people every now and then, but it's refreshing for it to be a person that's different from those two. Christine says that she doesn't know what Kody knows about David or if he knows about him at all. She says Kody doesn't share anything about his life, so she's not going to go out of her way to share about hers. Then they put in this clip of Kody, and I want you to listen to what he says.
Why do you have people who don't know each other get married if you think you're stuck forever? Not just for life, but for eternity?
This is one of those times where I agree with Kody, but I don't like his motives. I think he has a reason for saying this. I think he's right. A lot of faiths will encourage people to get married quickly, and a lot of times those people haven't had a chance to get to know each other that well. I think of the Duggars specifically when I'm talking about this. They're not supposed to have alone time together, so they're courting and there's always someone else with them, right? You're just not going to get to know a person that well, and specifically if it's a short amount of time and you're trying to jump into things. So I agree with Kody. Why would they encourage this? You're going to be linked to that person in the afterlife for eternity. You should get to know them a lot better than these faiths will often allow you to because of their rules about courting. However, Kody continues on and he adds this part, and for whatever reason, it just took it too far, and then I was annoyed. I thought, Kody, just stop talking. He should have stopped there.
I'm offended for her on the idea that she would be stuck with me for eternity when her soulmate was out there to be found.
So I feel like he's trying to turn this into a situation where he's went from polygamy to the idea that there's just one soulmate for you. So that explains it all. That explains why the marriages failed. That is the excuse. There's just one soulmate. Christine was supposed to be with David, so of course it didn't work. It doesn't make Kody any less of a crappy father or a crappy husband. And I think in his mind, it does. It makes it all make sense now in Kody's head. But to everyone else, we still think he's crappy. He's just not a good person. He's not a good dad. He wasn't good to the wives he had. And it doesn't change if all of a sudden he doesn't believe in polygamy. But I think that is his new story. He's going to keep saying soulmate so that it makes sense. The whole time he was supposed to be with Robin. Everyone else was just a mistake. That's why those marriages didn't work. Well, let me tell you what. You don't have to be madly in love with someone to treat someone well. That's all I gotta say. You guys can let me know what you think down in the comments. I'm going to move on. The show jumps back over to Christine and David. They're still at Red Earth venue. There ends up being a confessional where Christine talks about how unfair it was that the wives that come after the first wife cannot really celebrate their marriages. They can't have big weddings. They can have a spiritual ceremony, but they're not going to do a lot of celebrating. They want to, kind of keep it on the down low that it's happening. She says that is really unfair. Again, we've seen this on the show. We know the story with Christine. So now her plan is to have a big wedding, and after walking around the venue, they decide that Red Earth just isn't big enough, so they are going to continue to look for somewhere else to have the wedding. The show goes back over to Meri. They're still moving the furniture. There's a confessional where Kody says that his relationship with Robin is struggling, but it's not really about the relationship. It's about the big picture. They're both mourning the loss of what they thought their family was going to look like. But he says Meri seems a lot happier. He's at her house now and she's happy. I mean, she is not sad one bit. She's smiling. She's laughing when she's talking. Honestly, I think she looks great. I really do. So he says that. He says she seems lighter now. This is probably coming as a relief. But then Meri ends up saying he's projecting. He's the one that is probably feeling relief because he doesn't have to try to work on the relationship anymore. She also says, let's be real. Kody doesn't know me. And I absolutely agree with that. I think all of those times that she was being neglected by him, all of those years where she was abandoned, she was becoming her own person, and Kody just doesn't know who she is anymore. Nathan, Rebecca, Kody, and Meri end up going inside of her house. They sit down and talk, and honestly, I thought it went really well. I mean, it could have went a lot worse. But there ends up being a confessional where Kody just says a bunch of stuff that was unnecessary. I'm going to go ahead and put a little clip in of it here.
It offends me to think that I would be stuck with those three women.
To be fair, I'm going to give a little bit of context in case you don't remember when that happened in the show. Kody is talking about how divorce is not acceptable to many faiths, and then you're stuck in these marriages, or a marriage and then you're unhappy. And according to their faith, it was going to be eternal. So you're going to be eternally unhappy with this person. You know, it's one of those things where, again, I don't think what Kody is saying is wrong, but the way he says it, I just feel like his language and the way he talks is always unnecessarily mean. And I don't know if I'm being too critical of him here, but something about saying stuck with these 3 women, I don't know. I just didn't like it. You guys can let me know what you thought down in the comments. I feel like Kody realized he shouldn't have said it because then he adds this.
It offends me to think that God would cause me or them to suffer. Let's hang on that.
I think he's making it all about his own unhappiness, and then he realized, you know, he needed to make it about the fact that they would be unhappy too. But the reality is, they might have not left if he had been a good husband to them. And they all say he was once very much in love with them, and they were in love with him. It's just interesting to listen to Kody and watch him try to twist things around so that he always comes out looking like the victim. You know, he was going to be the victim and stuck with those women, and he had to do this. This was the way it had to be, or he was just going to be eternally unhappy. He doesn't ever bring up that he was a part of their unhappiness because he was such a bad partner and such a bad dad. There's a little bit more talking among Nathaniel, Rebecca, Kody, and Meri. Kody talks about how when Sonny and Cher got divorced, he was devastated. He was only 6 or 7, and he didn't realize that was a thing that could happen. And then he says this isn't what he wanted. When he thought of his own life story, this isn't the way he wanted it to go. After this, the show goes back over to Christine. They are headed to another wedding venue. And during this part of the show, Christine talks about how she wants a beautiful wedding dress. We know that she didn't like the dress she wore when she married Kody. And David says that Christine deserves a big wedding, even if it would be cheaper to go to Vegas. During this part of the show, they have a confessional where Kody talks about his wedding day. When he was marrying Christine, he says that it was really sad because he couldn't tell his work what he was doing because he already had a wife and he was hiding that he was getting married again. So he had a hard time getting off of work. And he had 2 other wives in tow. One of them was pregnant. And he also felt like he was doing it out of obligation. Christine also talks about how she didn't get to walk down an aisle, and when she saw Maddie get married, she realized that she wished that was something she could do. And she even told Kody, if we ever, have a wedding ceremony again, I want to be able to walk down an aisle. There is also a confessional where Janelle says that her wedding to Kody wasn't a big deal either because she was a second wife. She didn't even have a wedding dress. As viewers of this show, we all know that weddings are a sensitive subject as well as honeymoons because of what Robin's wedding and honeymoon was like. So Robin ends up having a moment where she gets to explain what happened.
He had talked about how Christine and Janelle didn't get what they deserved. And he said marriage should be celebrated, and I've learned my lesson.
So Kody realized he had done something wrong, that Christine and Janelle didn't get what they deserved. Before he brought someone into the family and did everything right with her, he should have tried to make sure he fixed what happened with Janelle and Christine. That could have been a few episodes of the show, you guys. They could have had wedding ceremonies for them. TLC would have ate that up. That right there could have been a part of the season, the first or second season. They could have dragged that on longer. That he wanted to fix what was wrong with those wedding ceremonies. He could have talked about how polygamists have to hide. That could have absolutely been a storyline. Robin continues on and she says that the way it all went down was because of Kody. The big wedding was because of Kody, but she tried to make sure the day was focused on the whole family. You guys can let me know in the comments how you feel about that. I will say, I think we're going to be reliving a lot of the past in this season. And when Christine is finally wedding dress shopping, I think we're definitely going to revisit Robin and her wedding dress shopping. And you guys know what I'm talking about. As the show starts coming to an end, it seems to jump between Christine and Meri quite a bit. There is a part of it where Kody talks about how he is getting along with Meri more now than he did before. He points out that this is all going very well, and they really are getting along. I thought the whole interaction between them and with Nathan and Rebecca went really well. It could have been awful. I mean, there are divorced people who can't even be in the same room. I thought they did great, and Kody acknowledges that. With that being said, I do wonder if this is all just an act, because when he's doing confessionals, he is still saying incredibly rude stuff. And in this same episode, Meri says they just had a phone conversation where they were disagreeing and Kody got all worked up. So I'm wondering if he's not just being on his best behavior because there are people there. There is a part of this where it skips over to Christine and she reflects on what it was like helping the girls in the family plan their weddings. And she also talks about Robin's. She said Robin was a wonderful sister wife on her wedding day. Like, Robin included all of the other sister wives on that day to make them feel like a part of it. So Christine says Robin did well. So at this point, the show is finally coming to an end. Christine says that she feels more special than she has ever felt, and she wishes that for everyone. You can tell her and David really like the wedding venue that they looked at, and I think that's the one they go with. I'm pretty sure because we see her walk down the hill during the wedding special, so I believe that's the one they go with. They're just as happy as can be. That's all there is to it. Over at Meri's house, Kody is moving the furniture out, and honestly, I still think it went well. Even if Kody was faking it, you know what? It's better than him being who he really is. So I think it went well for Meri. I'm glad she had people there. I'm glad, she had her family over to kind of cushion that, because I think in private, Kody's still awful to her. That's just my feelings. But you guys can let me know what you think down in the comments. Of course, you can talk about anything in this episode. I definitely leave some stuff out here and there. I try to cover the big stuff, but I just can't cover it all. So let me know what you think down in the comments. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe. And I hope you come back here to Happily Ever Reality.